was born a man, but I identify as a woman. Who are you to judge?
I identify as a judge. It's Sunday. I'm Akorn. Welcome back to Laugh While the World Burns. Another week, another dumpster fire. Grab your marshmallows and let's dive in. It's important that we continue to mock the people who thought this was a good idea. Remember what I told you? If the options are controlled, then you only have the illusion of choice. Fact check true. Politicians carefully exempting themselves while creating the worst legislation imaginable. If any politician was worth his salt, they would have had a bill making it illegal for Congress to exempt themselves from anything that they pass. Just so you know, I don't date Trump supporters. Don't think that'll be a problem. Every liberal in America. I support Ukraine. I support Ukraine. I support Ukraine. But not this Ukraine. Fox News. Men need gay friends. You sound like a potential homosexual. Hey friend, listen. I know the world is scary right now, but it's gonna get way worse. I sure wish that was just a meme. U.S. high school makes history by naming first ever male student homecoming queen. The absolute immorality and stupidity of this nation. We live in a generation of emotionally weak people. Everything has to be watered down because it's offensive, including the truth. No, especially the truth. Everything changes once you wake up. The more you learn, the more you'll never be able to see things the same way again. You can't make money these days being a clown. Yeah, because liberals are doing it for free. In nature, poisonous creatures will often develop bright colors to warn others of their toxicity. At least the warning's clearly labeled. Devastating sea level rise. Yeah, and one of those billionaires probably bought that castle or whatever that building is in the background there. Imagine, if you will, being so ignorant and dumb that you protest against safer streets and communities. It's like a vampire being forced to hold a cross. Movies in 2026. It's probably true. The only thing that they seem to make these days is either prequels, sequels, spin-offs, reboots, and etc. Apparently nobody has enough creative skill left to actually make a new movie that's any count. That's even worth the time it takes to watch it. When you just dropped a record amount at the grocery store, but you're committed to telling everyone the economy is great. Everybody can say the economy is doing great and it's doing better all they want to. All I know is my bills keep going up, as does the price of gold. Both of these things, among others, tells a different story about inflation. 8-year-old me laughing at the Amish for living off-grid. Adult me realizing the Amish are living the dream. Annual Wikipedia fundraiser says for just $2.75, you can help them censor the truth. This is the Babylon Bee, but they're not wrong. The question is, how far into the book will she get before she wakes up and removes the mask? She won't. Either she just reads it as fiction, because obviously nothing like that is happening, or she gets mad and throws it out the window. Justice Sotomayor questions if Americans know the difference between presidents and kings. This coming from the side that don't know the difference between a man and a woman. Larry Ellison once predicted citizens will be on their best behavior amid constant recording. Now his company will play a key role in social media. And a couple more for context. Larry Ellison, owner of Oracle, CBS, CNN, actually that acquisition is still being worked out, and now TikTok wants global data centralization and total surveillance. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. The people who still believe that they have privacy are just kidding themselves. And yet, at the same time, that's nothing compared to what's coming, especially with the implementation of the digital ID. Common sense in the 1960s, hate speech in the 2020s. Sadly, it's very true. It's like where people has had posts deleted, and even on this platform, videos has been demonetized for showing the video clip from Mr. Rogers. And you all know exactly the clip I'm talking about, but I can't show it because that's hate speech. Pro tip: if you stir coconut oil into your kale, it makes it easier to scrape off into the trash. Watching a new TV show, hoping it doesn't get woke. The first half of the series. The second half. Cardi B makes music for girls who say, "My kids are my world," when their grandmother has custody. That sounds about right, actually. You shouldn't use violence against people you disagree with. Source: Greta Thunberg got here looking like she's about to make a deal with Shrek to give him his swamp back. Y'all make $1,400 a week. I make $1,400 in 7 days. I have no idea who this is. I'm assuming some podcaster maybe? I don't know. Regardless, I don't know anybody that's making $1,400 a week. Maybe not the message that should be put on axes. Better hope that somebody isn't looking for a sign.
I'm a vegan and I'm trying steak for the very first, time in about 7 years. 7 years. What cut is it?
It's rump steak.
Rump steak. Okay. So I'm not quite sure what this is going to be like. Okay. I'm not sure about this. Wow. Wow. It's so good.
Moment police arrest autistic man in middle of the night for posting F Hamas, F Islam on social media. British police officers has been accused of acting like the Stasi of East Germany after they arrested a man last night over a social media post. Pete North was arrested at around 9:30 p.m. at his home in East Wold for a public order offense after he shared a meme on August 5th on X which read, F Hamas, F Palestine, F Islam. Want a protest? F off to a Muslim country and protest. The activist, who has autism and Tourette's, shared the exchange on his social media page where it quickly gathered more than 800,000 views. The clip shows two North Yorkshire officers confronting Pete and his wife as a hate team. That's the title given to all the officers that go out and arrest people for stuff they post on the internet. Have concluded that there are offenses that we need to explore before going on to say there are concerns he is spreading racial hatred. It's only going to get worse. Only a short time before we start seeing this happen across all the Western nations, including right here in the US. Don't think it can happen here? Ask the people that's over in the UK if they thought that that would happen there before it did. Girls' Fun Weekend versus Boys' Fun Weekend. Why won't conservatives give up their lead dispensers? Ask the people shooting at them. Again, this is the Babylon Bee, but this is basically a fact check true. Can someone clarify why Putin and Trump chose to hold their meeting in Alaska instead of Washington, D.C., which is directly en route? Today's education system at work. RFK Jr. wants to end mental health screenings in schools. Experts say it's a bad idea. The real question is, why was schools doing mental health screenings on kids in the first place? Because that's where all the indoctrination began to ramp up 2 to 3 decades ago. Yet another example of so-called modern art, guys. Artist Roman Signer activates his sand bucket sculpture. They call this art, guys. Also notice the bicycle hanging upside down. If that's art, so is most people's garages. Saying the most qualified person should get the job is a microaggression. Britain's top universities insist. Well, since they insist, Fun prank. Make people study for 16 years, then replace them with AI. That is what's happening with a whole lot of jobs and many other things, too. This dude took Crocs to a whole new level. Man, what is wrong with people? Food trucks used to sell you 3 of the best tacos you've ever had in your life for only $5. And then people with master's degrees started buying them, and now it's 3 of the worst tacos you've had in your life for $18.50 plus a recommended 20% tip. Yeah, that pretty much sums up how things have went. The biggest threat to Western civilization is Russia, China, Islam, white liberal women with liberal arts degrees. It's amazing what a wig and jewelry can do. The state of Israel has just announced that they formally recognize Great Britain as a Palestinian state. Might as well throw in France and multiple other European countries, as this has happened across all the Western nations. And it's not by accident. Picture of a planet 5 billion miles away from Earth. Bank security cameras. Italy lawmaker proposes law that would jail vegans for 4 years if they don't feed their kids meat. Now, I don't like any new laws because every single law out there basically just strips away more and more rights, which aren't rights to begin with if the government can take them. But, with that said, I'd almost have to support this one. Owning guns is not a right. If it were a right, it would be in the Constitution. AOC. I know AOC has said plenty of stupid things, but I'm not sure if this is a real quote. Not that it would surprise me. Weekends used to feel like mini vacations. Now they feel like the minute boxers get between rounds. I've never had a job where I had the weekends off. As a matter of fact, I almost always worked at least one, if not both days. Remember, only you can prevent your state from becoming California. Florida man caught on video buying face mask before failed robbery across the street. A Florida man was arrested after he allegedly tried to rob an unlocked bank on Saturday evening. Colton, 33, was caught on surveillance video at a gas station purchasing a mask around 7 p.m. according to Martin County Sheriff's Office. Well, he couldn't let him see his face, so what choice did he have? Girls nowadays are like a box of chocolates. Some of them have nuts. Therapists, when they see a girl with blue hair walking in, they probably do, actually. When I make a joke to the wrong person, and now I have to listen to a lecture on human rights, racism, and homophobia. Like heck, I'm going to listen to a lecture from somebody like that. I'll tell them some few simple facts, and then I'll turn around and leave. They're American people waiting for just one politician to be held accountable for literally anything. Even if they ever do, it'll just be for show at this point. Substance dog visiting middle school finds substance in teacher's wallet, police say. Teacher arrested for substance possession. You know, whenever she found out that they had canine units there in the school, you would have thought she'd at least thought to get that out and go throw it away in a trash can in some common area in the school. They would have just assumed that one of the kids must have put it in there. This is one of the greatest photographs of all time. Historians will study this in the centuries to come. Couldn't you just imagine if this was reversed? You'd never hear the end about it on the news. Do white lives matter? Leaders show compassion for black suspect in brutal murder of this woman. Charlotte's mayor responded to the murder of Ukrainian refugee by sympathizing with the black, homeless, and mentally unwell suspect. They have it on video, but they're just a suspect. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Those who prevent history being taught fully intend to repeat it. Yes, 1000%. But the worst part is, a whole lot of what we've been taught as being history is completely fabricated.
Want to know what I found out the other day?
What did you find out the other day?
Did you know the entire Earth is $315 trillion in debt?
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Who do they owe money to?
Bro, who are they getting money from?
It blows my mind that first off, you have everything on the planet here to live for free.
You literally have everything you need.
And then you invent a system that creates a deterioration of your own resources.
You created a store of value that's literally storing less and less value every day. Every day.
And you're increasing your technology, and yet somehow you still owe money to someone, and it's $315 trillion. There's not enough paper to print that much cash. What are they doing?
Dude, Earth is like the worst meme coin. It's the worst.
It got rugged.
Earth got rugged.
FBI warns new scam involves getting a job and working 40 hours a week. My buddy explaining why he never got that job with the ATF. I can't shoot a dog. People? Okay, but not dogs. I agree with that, actually. Me treating myself after paying all of my bills and the government taking 30%. Yeah, but they're just talking about income taxes that is cut straight off the top. That's not including all the many other taxes, fees, registrations, permits, and all the other different licenses and permissions that we pay for, most of which is completely against the Constitution, but that never stopped any politician. Passengers flying first class on British Airways Boeing 747s have expressed concerns about a redesign that includes windows in some lavatories. One woman traveling to New York voiced her discomfort over the lack of blinds. A stewardess reportedly responded, "Madam, if someone is clinging to the side of this aircraft at 35,000 feet, they've earned the view." Woman who went viral for running a Burger King alone for 12 hours gets fired. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense. You have a worker who not only is able, but was willing to run the entire store by herself. Yeah, Why not fire your best worker? I finally realized that people are prisoners of their phones. That's why they're called cell phones. Might not be where the original name came from. Doesn't make it any less true today, though. How to waste $1.5 billion in 107 days with nothing to show for it. I wonder if that's the name of her new book. Anyone know if she ever got it published yet? Taco Bell is re-evaluating AI drive-thru technology after someone ordered 18,000 cups of water. Well, if you're going to put a system like that in place, then you should also realize that people's going to test it in every way possible, just to see what happens. Girl demands creation of Palestinian state so it can be destroyed by climate change in 6 years. Here's a clip from Liberty Hangout where this lady is asking some college students just some simple questions. This is just a couple clips of some of the things that they said.
I think we should abolish jail and we should allow all the violent immigrants and... Yes.
We should allow them to what?
Stay here.
Okay. Do you think that we could abolish jails, get all the violent immigrants, your words, and all the violent felons in jail? Could we put them here at USF on campus?
Yes, and I'll hang out with them.
You'll hang out with them?
Mm-hmm.
Gangs are there for a reason. Gangs are there for community, and they're there because, listen, gangs are formed for a community. They're formed because they're lacking something.
We don't know originally who this land belongs to. And so if no one's illegal, how do we protect the people who live in this country? How do we protect our borders? How do we protect our property?
Well, when you think about that, most of the people who are portraying a lot of the violence and things like that, they are citizens of America. So you saying that people from other countries are portraying most of the violence...
I didn't say that.
Okay, well, you when you told me, you were like, oh, we have to deport violent criminals and things like that. Yeah, but there's also American citizens who are criminals, and they go to jail just like anyone else. So why can't...
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that, so they get held accountable for their crimes, and they go through due process, and they go to jail. Right. I think the same law should apply to people who come over unvetted, and they commit a crime by crossing the border illegally, and then they commit a further crime by committing violence or acts of aggression against people who are citizens of this country. I think the same same standard should be applied to them, and if deportation is what the law says that they get, they should get it.
Okay, but why is that the ultimate,
why are you okay with someone who's an American citizen going to jail, but you're not okay with an illegal alien who crossed over the border illegally, who commit violent crimes, getting deported?
Well,
Don't touch my stuff. What are you doing?
Would you like to reply?
Yes.
You can go ahead, yeah.
I think we should abolish jail and we should allow all the violent immigrants and... Yes.
We should allow them to what?
Stay here.
Okay. Do you think that we could abolish jails, get all the violent immigrants, your words, and all the violent felons in jail? Could we put them here at USF on campus?
Yes, and I'll hang out with them.
You'll hang out with them?
Mm-hmm.
The hacker who doesn't understand why he can't see my password. Me, who set my password as 8 asterisks. Used to be able to do that back in the day. ICE is even in Hawaii. Very small holding facilities, though. At least they're open 24 hours. It's important that we continue to mock the people who thought this would do anything. Oh, it did a lot of things. Just one of the things was training people to comply with any orders they were given, no matter how ridiculous they were. These guys in prison are living better than us. Imagine playing prison rules. Well, it could be like the prisons over in the Netherlands, if I remember right. Their so-called cells are far nicer apartments than many of the people have here in the US today. When you're trying to save the environment, but you ain't got 60 grand for a Tesla. It is an electric vehicle. Hope your battery don't run out. You might get a ticket for going too slow, though. Travis and Taylor Kelsey in 2040. The urge to go to a furry con dressed like this. That would be hilarious. Almost guaranteed you'd probably get arrested. They got people believing the natural foods we've been eating forever are the problem, and not the food products they're selling you. It's 1,000% true. And Celtic sea salt is really good for you too. I just found out my uncle, a lifelong Republican, is voting Democrat this fall. This would have never happened if he were still alive. So, Cracker Barrel? Yeah, a lot of good reasons why there's memes like this, though. With her knowing what stocks to buy, as well as when to buy or sell them, she must be one of the luckiest people on earth. And yes, I'm being sarcastic. Heaven confirms pastors are allowed to speed on the way to church. According to heavenly sources, church pastors are officially exempt from all posted speeding limits and well within their rights to speed on the way to church. They have important work to do. The Babylon Bee. Waiting for some stranger to arrive because my wife decided to risk my life by selling our pillows on Facebook Marketplace for $5. I hardly ever go on Facebook Marketplace unless I'm actually searching for something, but you see an awful lot of strange things on there sometimes. And you also see a lot of things that just makes you wonder, why would they even waste their time posting it? The media estimating the crowd size at London Unite the Kingdom rally. Yeah, that sounds about right. The media always downplays things like this. Wild video shows huge mob storming California jewelry store in $1 million raid. Video shows a huge mob of masked black-clad thieves storming a California jewelry store and making off with around $1 million in merchandise in just over a minute. This just happened yesterday, and the latest info I saw, I think they said now that there was 25 people. They've apparently made a few arrests, after which they were probably released a few hours later. But regardless, they pretty much just came in, smashed everything, and took what they wanted. Here's one of the clips from the news.
This is the moment more than 20 masked and hooded people stormed into Heller Jewelers in broad daylight Monday. Some of them armed with guns, others with crowbars. Police say the mob then helped themselves to $1 million worth of fine jewelry.
When they went in, they basically took over the store. They went to all the jewelry display cases and began just smashing the display cases at will, using the crowbars and the pickaxes, and basically taking whatever jewelry was available.
When the store door closed behind them, police say it automatically locked, trapping the group inside. A witness captured the robbers firing shots to escape.
It was a very dangerous situation. They did fire multiple rounds through the door, which caused the door to shatter, and they were able to then push the glass out and exit.
Drone footage captured the suspects getting into their cars and speeding away. Police say choppers followed them. Officers arrested 3 men and a 17-year-old on International Boulevard in Oakland and arrested 3 others at the Dublin BART station.
The biggest concern was not seeing just 1 or 2 or 3 people, but like 20 people being involved in something like this.
Michael and Joyce Comer just bought their wedding rings at Heller. They were hoping to get them cleaned today, but the store was closed. They are appalled at what happened.
Something really tragic could have happened, worse than stealing jewelry yesterday.
Police say they're still looking for at least 17 suspects. They say detectives are working around the clock to find them. In San Ramon, Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
As things continue to get worse across the U.S., we're going to see more and more of this, and it's only going to get worse. Democrats, stop attacking our guys for wearing MAGA hats. We don't attack your guys for wearing dresses. I'm sick of hearing undocumented. The word is illegal. Let's all say it together. Illegal. Fact check true. The USS Al Gore Global Warming Research Vessel. That is pretty funny, even if it's not real. Some people will cut off their nose just to spite their own face. That is absolutely true. Only at Costco can you book your honeymoon and plan your funeral on the same order. I'm telling you guys, it's idiocracy in real life. If guns kill people, pencils misspell words, cars drive drunk, and spoons make people fat. Fact check true. Babe, Hawaii sounds amazing. Let's take a floating Walmart there. Never been on a cruise, and I certainly wouldn't want to go on one anytime soon with all the things that you keep hearing about them. I told you I didn't want the peanuts, Karen. Give me the walnuts. An aggressive squirrel seeking food has sent at least 2 people to the ER in California City. Never underestimate a squirrel. What in the world did somebody do to get blocked by NATO on Twitter? I can only imagine. Refugees don't go to other countries and wave their homeland flag. Invaders do. This is just plain truth. I've made the statement before. If all of these people, supposed refugees, are fleeing from these countries because of how oppressed that they are there, but yet when they get here, they burn the US flag and fly their old country's flag. If that's not an invasion, then make it make sense. Your last saved meme is what Hillary is looking at. Texas man arrested trying to rescue thick Latinas from ICE detention facility. Today's headline news. Former U.S. attorney is 8th sober driver to be arrested for DUI by state trooper. Nashville, Tennessee, a former U.S. attorney from Kentucky is the latest sober driver to be arrested by THP trooper James Zahn. Last week, we reported that we discovered 7 sober drivers had all been arrested by Zahn for DUI. After that story aired, former U.S. Attorney Jane Bondurant called to say she too had been arrested by Zahn. I think I'm 8 people too many, Bondurant said. I actually watched some of the news clip video from this, and the reason that they know that there's now been at least 8 people who were arrested for DUI that were actually sober is because when the blood work came back, they had a 0.0 alcohol level. This is absolutely true, but most people's already forgot about them and moved on because they don't talk about it in the news anymore. Thanks for hiding my package, Amazon. Yeah, it just blends right in. Nobody ever see that one. Refusing to indulge in another person's psychosis is not a phobia. No, it certainly isn't. Just in, Venmo and PayPal users can now send money to the U.S. government to help pay down the $37.5 trillion national debt. Yeah, I think this last time it increased $1.3 trillion. I believe it was only about 76 days. When you tell a socialist to redistribute their own wealth, well, yeah, they only do that with other people's money. Most often, the poor. TikTok is Chinese spyware, but you use Google Chrome. It's absolutely true. If people still believe that they have any kind of privacy, they are greatly mistaken. And not just on the internet, but all the time. Because as long as you have your cell phone with you, it's constantly collecting data, let alone the computers and all the other electronics we use. A recent government survey shows that 3 out of 5 people make up nearly 60% of the population. Are you one of them? The thing is, I could absolutely see something like this being a government study, which is actually just to funnel money. Why does it take 7 to 10 business days to refund my money when it took 5 to 7 seconds to take it out of my account? For the same reason that you won't get paid if it's a weekend or a holiday, you have to wait till the next business day. However, with bills, they don't care if it's a weekend, holiday, or any other day. They're going to take their money out of your account regardless of what day it is. My 15-year-old daughter asked me if she could get a nose ring, so I bought her one. That's the only acceptable type. I can't stand a thief, but this fool must be a mathematical wizard to balance the whole truck on one jack stand. He's just reducing his overhead cost to as low as possible. Here's a video of what's supposed to be a grown adult woman who is basically throwing a temper tantrum in the floor of this store and then starts chasing and threatening the person with the camera.
You keep lying saying I'm threatening you, so I'm recording to protect myself. Can you just stop recording? Yeah. This crazy lady. Okay, she attacked me and try to say I attacked her. You cut. Yeah, look at this. Get away from me! Oh, y'all better get this lady. Get away from me! You gonna? You look at this. Get security. Get the fucker. Get security. Look at this. Yes, can y'all get her away from me? Get her away from me! Lord have mercy. Get her away from me! Get her away from me! No, I gotta just protect myself. She's trying to attack me. No, no, no.
This is just yet another good example of what happens when you don't correct a child growing up. When they get older and are supposed to be an adult, they still think that screaming and throwing a temper tantrum and threatening people is gonna get them what they want. Because that's exactly what they done when they were kids, and they were given everything they wanted. So of course they're gonna continue to be that way and get a lot worse as they get older. This is what California would look like if all the icebergs melted. Me. Yep. We do not need more gun control. We need more idiot control. That is a fact check true. The ATF should be a convenience store, not a government agency. Yeah, if Trump really wanted to help the people, he should have already done away with the ATF and the IRS, and a whole lot of others. Are you gonna shut up about the Epstein files? No, but it's not gonna matter, because no truth is ever gonna come out. Oh look, the government caused another problem. Guess we need some more government. That's how it always goes. If all humans suddenly lost the ability to lie, what industry would collapse first? Everything would collapse first. Because if this were true, then the government would collapse, all of the news and media would all collapse, all the other propaganda sources would also collapse, the schools, the economy, and a whole lot more. Pam Bondi confirms Epstein files raptured. The files are with Jesus now. Why are you so far right politically? I'm just a normal person from 1995. Very, very true. The white supremacist origins of exercise. That's right, guys. If you exercise, then you're racist. I forgot which news station this was from, but this so-called reporter here is asking this government official from Poland, why hasn't Poland taken in a whole bunch of refugees? Take a listen at his response.
How many refugees has Poland taken?
0.
And you're proud of that?
If you are asking me, if you are asking me about Muslims illegal immigration, none, not even one will come to Poland. Not even one if it's illegal. We took over 2 million Ukrainians who are working, who are peaceful in Poland. We will not receive even one Muslim because this is what we promised.
But I asked
this
not about illegal
failed.
immigrants, I asked about refugees. And Jean-Claude Juncker, the Commission President, says that you're racist. You sound proud of the fact that you haven't taken any refugees.
Of course, because this is what our people are expecting from our government. That's number one. This is why our government was elected. But this is why Poland is so safe. This is the reason why we had not even one terrorist attack. Look at the streets in Poland. And we can be called populists, nationalists, racists. I don't care. I care about my family and about my country.
This Japanese restaurant has a vegan version of their noodles, and instead of taking a new photo, they just censored out the egg. Well, to a vegan, I guess that would be obscene. Prehistoric women were probably better at hunting than men, scientists suggest. The scientist. Your bowl of rice is hurting the climate too. Should I just unalive? That is the end goal of the powers that be. When you dim so hard that you support segregation again. Actually, they have supported segregation, literally. Back on some of the earlier episodes of this series, I had a video of just one example of it, where they literally had an area with a sign that said no whites allowed. Swiss man opts for jail time instead of fine after being charged over transphobic social media post. A man in Switzerland is facing 10 days in prison after refusing to pay a fine for an offensive social media post. Emmanuel, a wind instrument repairman, was convicted under anti-discrimination laws for making statements emphasizing skeletal evidence of binary sex. His ordeal began in December of 2022 when he responded to a Facebook post by Swiss National Council member Andreas Glarner. In his comment, he wrote, "If you dig up the Alphabet Gang's people after 200 years, you'll only find men and women based on their skeletons. Everything else is a mental illness promoted through curriculum. It's only going to get worse." The itsy bitsy paycheck just posted to my account. Down came the bills and wiped the money out. Yup, unfortunately. Before they were shut down, asylums housed the woke. Vegetarian ate one burger, got hooked, and become a butcher. Well, congrats on becoming healthier. You know, if meat, and specifically beef, if it wasn't good for you, then the government and the billionaires wouldn't be trying to destroy all the farms and get you to eat bugs for protein instead. Yeah, all these scriptwriters know exactly how to word things in order to push the agenda. Sylvia Sidney, born 1910. Look, I survived the Great Depression and the Nazis. Do you think I care about your TikTok feelings? I just want good blue jeans. When people ask why I'm not a liberal, it's a lot more than just that. Housing market be like 1 bedroom with AC on open lot, $180,000. That's pretty close to the truth these days. Emperor Newsom checks his Instagram while California burns. AD 2025. The shooter isn't trans. The left. But his boyfriend is. When a woman says 5 minutes, think like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter and both teams have all their timeouts. You have to admit, this actually is a pretty good analogy. When he was growing up, everybody laughed when Jimmy Kimmel said he wanted to be a comedian. Nobody's laughing now. No, they're certainly not. He was never funny in the first place. I quit watching any of the late night shows after Jay Leno retired. Do you guys remember this back from some months ago? Woman sentenced in wild Graceland foreclosure fraud. Memphis, Tennessee, the woman accused of a fraudulent foreclosure scheme involving Elvis Presley's Graceland mansion was sentenced Tuesday in a federal court in Memphis. Lisa Janine Findlay was sentenced to 57 months in prison, with 3 years of supervised release. She also has to have mental health counseling and can't open lines of credit without probation approval. I've mentioned some about this in previous shows, guys. This is not good. Trump calls for using U.S. cities as a training ground for military in unusual speech to generals. And before the comments start flooding, yes, there has been military that has trained in U.S. cities before, such as all the Jade Helm exercises that happened when Obama was in office around 10 years ago. But with that said, with how bad that the country is divided and polarized at this point in time, this is only asking for more problems. Further, there has been many times that the military was carrying out supposed training exercises that then turned live. I could mention some of these, but it'd probably get the video banned. Democrats were sent by God. Why? Was he out of locus?
You see this? We want this. We love this. We need this. But this? Yeah, we don't need this.
As a member of the African American community, we would like to humbly decline your offer. Since you don't want your own race, maybe the Hispanics will take you instead. So sorry, you have been declined.
Thank you for the referral on that, but the Hispanic community, we're gonna have to pass on that. You could check the Asians though.
As a representative of the Asian community, after careful consideration, unfortunately, we cannot take her. She will also be banned from ever taking out Chinese again. Though, we will offer her up to the Indians.
After a not-so-thorough examination and as a member of the Indian community, we would also like to humbly deny this offer. Maybe the Egyptians would be interested.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but there's no way. Gotta pass this one back to the white boys.
No. Pro-immigration United Kingdom. Anti-immigration Poland. Probably a government sign. A new sign at the local driving range. We do not allow Happy Gilmore swings. We have had 2 knee dislocations recently, so if you are seen, you will be asked to leave. How does somebody dislocate their knee playing golf? I don't care what kind of swing you do. Did they hit themselves with a golf club or what? That moment when you realize you're no longer on the internet. This here must be some Gen Z office hours, guys. We're open most days around 9 or 10, occasionally as early as 7, but some days as late as noon or 1. We close around 4 or 5, but sometimes as late as 11 or 12. Some days or afternoons we aren't here at all. And lately, I've been here just about all the time, except when I'm someplace else. But I should be here then, too. I hope this is just a joke or something, guys. But you want to know the worst part? If you look closely, this paper's actually been laminated before being taped to the door. Hey, whatever gets the job done. Celebrities. We must all do our part to fight global warming. Also, celebrities going out to get a cup of coffee. Highly anticipated Facebook settlement checks will soon be sent to millions of users. The long-awaited payouts from the record-breaking 725 million Facebook settlement are finally being sent out to the millions of users who qualified. I read someplace else that the average payout amount is supposed to be about $30. So they either sold or gave away all of your privacy and data, and in compensation, you get $30. Go buy a Happy Meal. Oh look, celebrity opinions being put in the trash, exactly where they should be. In 1997, the Brits let the government take away all their guns. Now they get arrested for memes and Facebook posts. Dems warn surveillance videos perpetuate stereotypes by accurately depicting events. Babylon Bee. Some of you may have saw the video where the Karen at the Phillies game basically went and stole a baseball from a kid and his dad. Well, there's been an update. Philadelphia Eagles general manager Jeffy Lurie has shocked the sports world by announcing the permanent ban of the infamous Phillies Karen from Lincoln Financial Field. His announcement came with a stern warning to fans around the world. Any hostile, reckless, aggressive, or disrespectful behavior similar to her infamous behavior will not be tolerated under his leadership. Mark Zuckerberg always looks like the guy in a zombie movie who's been bitten but is trying to keep it a secret from everyone else. That's another good explanation. I always thought he looked like an android. Of course, he's had some upgrades since then. President Trump will send the National Guard to Memphis to address the crime problem and has the support of the Tennessee governor. I've made a few statements in some past shows concerning things of this nature. I know most of the right is very supportive of this because it sounds like a good idea, even though the military was never supposed to police citizens. But setting that aside, one of the things that the right is not considering on all of these type of topics or actions that's being taken, they sound good now. However, when the Democrats retake office, because it will happen at some point, all of these actions and things that were done before, they will then turn them and use them against the right, except probably 100-fold more. Because once a door like this is open, you're never going to close it again. So be careful what you call for and what you support. Because if you think that the 6th day of January was bad, that isn't even a drop in the bucket to what they can do when they go back in. When a man washes the dishes. And what's wrong with that? It all fit, it just has to stay there until it's dry. Meanwhile, inside the fridge. Yeah, keep making the memes, guys. They're just about the only way to keep people from forgetting about all of this stuff. Well played, Canada. If this was another country, we'd have to tell you that this coffee may be hot. Good thing this is Canada. You're not wrong, but you guys don't have anything to brag about either. San Bruno Police Department. During a grant-funded DUI enforcement operations, our officers observed something unusual. An autonomous vehicle made an illegal U-turn right in front of them at a light. That's right, no driver, no hands, no clue. Officers stopped the vehicle and contacted the company to let them know about the glitch. Since there was no human driver, a ticket could not be issued. Our citation books don't have a box for a robot. Hopefully, the reprogramming will keep it from making any more illegal moves. It was the first for both officers. For those who believe that we are being lenient, there is legislation in the works that will allow officers to issue the company's notices. Notices? How about the same or even higher fines that private citizens would be forced to pay, let alone having their driver's license taken and other things? Since 1975, $80 trillion has shifted from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. In 2023 alone, $3.9 trillion, enough to give every full-time worker in the 90% an extra $32,000 a year. Yeah, and then they would tax the $32,000 too. Nurse, you've been in a coma since the evening of September 10th, 2001. Patient, did Congress ever track down that $2.3 trillion that went missing from the Pentagon? No, they certainly didn't, and they never will, and the vast majority of people forgot about that a long time ago. Vancouver expects to be the first city in Canada with an electric fire truck. The electric fire truck costs $300,000 more than a diesel model, pumps 40% less water, and needs a diesel extender engine to make it useful. The future looks bright. Well, it's the taxpayers that's going to have to pay for it. That's why the government's proud of it. When you're governed by idiots, homicide is the leading cause of unaliving. Sheila Jackson. No ordinary American cares about constitutional rights. Joe Biden. Having an abortion is no different than having one's tonsils removed. Elizabeth Warren. Owning lead dispensers is not a right. If it were a right, it would be in the Constitution. AOC. Department of Education lays off nearly 50% of its workforce. Half of what I'd hoped for. Don't worry, not only will they probably get hired back, but they'll probably hire a bunch more on top of that. Speaking of which, the Trump administration rehires hundreds of federal employees laid off by Dodge. A lot of good to that done, but it's not surprising. Nobody blamed the lightsaber. No, they didn't. They also don't blame cars, knives, hammers, various yard tools, ropes, buildings, or anything else that people use to kill someone. There's only one tool that they blame, which just so happens to be the same tool that law-abiding citizens most often use to stop the criminals. We're coming, rural America. Well, hurry up. I got a pie in the oven. Things that I want. To abolish the ATF. The IRS too. Release the Epstein files. Real government spending cuts. My political views are whatever this is. This is a cop's worst nightmare. A squirrel with a sandwich. Yeah, Peanut the squirrel and the Subway sandwich. Weapons of mass destruction. My husband asked me why I whisper in the house. I said I was afraid Google was listening. He laughed. I laughed. Alexa laughed. Siri laughed. And the refrigerator laughed. Guys, if it has internet, it's watching and listening. That's a guarantee. I forget what his name was, but back some years ago, there was even a U.S. general who stated that your dishwasher is listening to you. Who knows? Maybe that's what LED light bulbs were really about. When a country boy wins the lottery. Yeah, maybe so. That would take an awful lot of time and work, though. Still looks a lot better than some of them I've seen. I'd like to learn a trade and know how to do taxes. America is evil, and some men have periods. Woman, shampoo for dry and damaged hair. Man, 6-in-1 shampoo for hair, face, body, carpet, car, and dishes. This is pretty much true. All of us guys here just want simplicity. Right, guys? Has your gun been cranky? Is it constantly trying to bully you into harming people? Well, help is here. The Gun Whisperer. I provide free gun therapy service curing your gun with hypnotic attitude training. Just send me the troublesome weapon. I pay shipping both ways. The procedure will take quite some time. You may be notified upon completion of the procedure. If you do not receive a notification, fear not. I will take extra special care of your baby. My savings. The Federal Reserve. Yeah, ever since 1913. And I think the last time I heard the supposed official inflation numbers, I think they were claiming something like 2.7%. But most people don't realize that food and energy, which is both fuel and electricity, are not calculated into the inflation numbers. So basically, the number one necessities that we need are the things that they make sure to exclude from inflation. If you want to know what the real inflation numbers are, all you have to do is study gold prices. Gold right now is at an all-time high. Just a few days ago, it once again broke the highest record with $3,697.50. And even now, the current price is $3,680. Now, why does that matter? 1 ounce of gold will always be 1 ounce of gold. And that's not going to change because it's a physical asset. So an ounce of gold will always be an ounce of gold. Well, a lot of people think that you can invest in gold. In other words, you try to buy gold low and be able to resell it at a higher price. The same thing as the stock market, which they do buy and sell paper gold, which is supposedly backed by real gold off in some foreign vault somewhere. However, if you're looking at this and saying that gold is an investment, that's not true. Yes, gold increased in price, but its buying power never changed. What do I mean? Well, I just looked this up, and the price of gold back in 2015 was as low as $1,050 per ounce. But as I said earlier, now, in 2025, 10 years later, gold is $3,680 an ounce. So why did the price go up? That 1 ounce piece of gold is still a 1 ounce piece of gold. So the only thing that changed was the US dollar. Because the value of the dollar is going down, it takes more dollars to buy the same 1 ounce piece of gold. That is your real inflation value. And this is just in the last 10 years. If you really wanted to study some long-term inflation numbers of the dollar, go do some research back before 1913. Because at 1913 is when the Federal Reserve was created, which is actually a private bank, for any of you that didn't know. And here's one last quick point. Just last year, in 2024, gold was $2,388 per ounce. And today, it's $3,680, which is a difference of $1,292, which is a dollar amount increase of almost 30%. Or, to put this into real-life terms, let me ask you a question. Do you think that your groceries has increased by 30% in about the last year or year and a half? I know here, it certainly has been that, if not more. Drinking water, but not suitable for European stomach. That moment when you realize you will never have to work again. Yeah, this must have been what replaced the so-called American dream for the last 30 years or so. In 1984, scientists ate a 50,000-year-old bison in a stew. The taste was delicious, and none of us suffered any ill effects from the meal. There was another news article that I read back some time ago about how scientists ate part of a frozen woolly mammoth. We deserve NBA money. Do a 360 windmill dunk first. Yep, That's the first requirement. Secondly, let the WNBA bring in enough money to actually pay for their salaries first. Speaking of which, by the way, they actually turned down a 300% pay increase, if I remember right, because they weren't happy with that because they weren't getting paid the same amount of millions as the men were. Even though the NBA subsidizes the WNBA because otherwise it wouldn't exist. Windows 2001. Windows 2025. Yeah, they should keep the backgrounds more realistic. Today was ranch day at their high school. Failed successfully? I don't know. They must have been from California. If you're having a bad day, just remember, Kamala Harris could be your president right now. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. They certainly could put her in next time. Don't forget the Simpsons prediction. Gang violence has to stop. Yeah, poor old dog. Can't have a moment's peace. Squirrel drops nut. Looks absolutely devastated. One of the worst things to ever happen to a squirrel has happened. The memes about Philadelphia Karen are still going. This right here is just yet another good example of where we're at in this country. The divide and conquer strategy has never changed, guys. And over the last 50 plus years, their agenda has brought us to this point that we're at today, when the country is so polarized that they absolutely hate each other, which has all been brought about by design. I probably shouldn't even say this, and right now I don't know if I'll leave it in the video. But if you go online and search for a PDF that is titled The 10 Stages of Genocide, it's by a guy named Gregory Stanton, and it's from the Genocide Education Project. I know a lot of people on the right are very angry right now, and many people will love if the military is sent into these cities to start with, which is already happening, but that is only going to greatly escalate as we move forward. Likely that some laws will get passed and other things. But something to remember is that anger can blind you. And there is so many people today that is so angry at the left and want to see retaliation that they'll basically support anything that they think will lead to that end. However, as I've briefly mentioned on a past show, that once these doors are open, such as the military being used to police U.S. citizens, regardless of their affiliations, and that's just one small aspect out of all the things that's taking place and what they're going to do. But we'll just use that as the example. What do you think's going to happen when they put the left back in? Who do you think the left is going to label as being the criminals and the terrorists and other? And if they're criminals and terrorists, who are they going to send after them? Once a door is open, guys, anyone can use it. Things to think about. Can I claim all of my wife's multiple personalities on my taxes? I love the fact that it gives the potential tax benefits related to disability. Yeah, this is true, and it'll go the other way when the Democrats retake office. Make men masculine again. Make women feminine again. And make children innocent again. To say the very least. I'm going to end today's show a little differently this week. Many of you will already know exactly what this is, and you've heard it before. All of you that are younger, though, may or may not have ever heard of this before. But even for those who have heard it before, I think it's good to hear it again and look at the state of things in this nation today, in 2025, compared to what the great Paul Harvey predicted back in 1965 in the If I Were the Devil broadcast. Let's take a listen.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Paul Harvey certainly had very good insight to where this nation was heading. If you enjoyed today's show, then please support the channel by hitting that like and subscribe, and make sure to click that notification bell. And to help this series continue, please share it with your family and friends and social media. That's it for today's show, but I'll see all of you back here on Saturday's show. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe this week. This is Akorn, over and out.
You cannot marry that man. He is married to me. And oh, I'm so sorry. Is it? Oh, this is the wrong wedding. I'm so sorry. Carry on.
Are you serious? That just happened?